Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Tiny Lab Talks. Today we have the Dog Talk. Firstly and foremost, the Tiny Lab Talks are brief informal talks between researchers, and in this case we have a guest, invited by the University of Aveiro, and the researcher, in this case a professor, from the University of Aveiro itself, where we get to go, with the support of the American Corner program, and we get to talk about technology, innovation, some culture, and I believe that's it. Sometimes research as well. This conversation takes place here at the University, the UA's American Corner MediaLab, with the support of the US Embassy. So first, I would like to give a warm welcome to our guests. Today I'm joined by Sarah Wells. Born and raised in Portland, Oregon, she's a documentary filmmaker based in San Francisco and Portland, right?
That's right.
So between documentary projects, we can find you in the camera department, enjoying your time both as a cinematographer, a camera assistant, and a camera operator. Today, you'll share your experience and knowledge of the film industry and what it is to be a documentary filmmaker. I'm also joined by Hélder, a professor at the Department of Communication and Art, where he lectures in communication sciences and technologies, undergraduate and graduate programs. You have participated in several national and international projects, mainly related to the audiovisual and photographic documentary, transmedia storytelling, technology-enhanced learning, research environments, and cultural heritage preservation. That's a lot of things. You also have a degree in electronic engineering and telecommunications, a master's in information management, and a PhD in multimedia and in education. According to your Instagram bio, you also like mostly street, travel, and sailing photography.
Yes, that's right.
And finally, I'm Beatriz again. I'm the actual coordinator of the Núcleo de Cinema e Fotografia. We can roughly translate it to the Cinema and Photography Club. I joined it 2 years ago because of the lack of cinema representativity in the campus. And after I joined it into 2021, we were able to do a Serbian festival of short films. And lately we have been working with the Shortcuts Festival of Aveiro and with the Aveiro Fest. So now let's move on to questions, the tough part. Given your guys' experiences, have you ever had a specific project that raised any moral dilemmas of what you were photographing or recording, and how did you feel about sharing that kind of footage?
Let me think about it.
We can ask Professor Hélder first, since he does street photography.
Yes, street photography, that's a big theme right now because of our GPD and all other data protection rules. Sometimes I arrive at home with pictures taken in the streets, and I think, should I publish them, should I not publish them? And sometimes it's a tough question. Usually I only publish photos where I think that the people represented there would be honored to be there, okay? I usually don't take photos in difficult conditions of poor people on the streets, homeless people, so I don't do that. So I try to represent the best part of the people, and in situations where they feel comfortable, they feel joy, and so I try to stick to that. So I make my own rules. I take street photography in a more traditional and classical approach, so it's candid street photography. I don't ask for permission to take photos of people, so I take them because I'm in a public space. But I try to filter the photos and not to publish anything that could harm that person in any way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I could think of a documentary where I was a camera operator, and it was during the Black Lives Matter protest in Portland, where I'm from. And yeah, we had to be careful about how we were approaching the documentary and trying to remain, somehow a little neutral on a very touchy subject, But I think the biggest takeaway for me was just anyone that we were going to interview or really focus on, we needed to get their buy-in and their consent. So, I mean, yeah, we also on this project, I think we wanted the participants who were more involved to be able to get to know us and know a little bit about the filmmakers and how we were going to try and show the story and sort of gain their trust. So I think it's important to just be honest with people that you're filming and let them know a little bit about you before beginning the project. So it was important to like form these relationships and let them know a bit about us before we really filmed them. Yeah.
Thank you. How do you balance the technical part while also balancing the creative process? So, for example, if you know the technical parts of a camera, does that sometimes bother you in your creative process? How do you work that?
Okay. Well, when I started photography back in the 80s, okay, so I'm old. So back in the 80s when I started photography, I were very worried about the technical part of this area. So I tried to know all the buttons, tried to know all the techniques. But as I move along, as I progress in my voyage within photography, I discovered that the most important thing is the story, is the things that you are trying to convey, the message that you are trying to pass. So I began to put the things more easy on the technical part, more simple. So today, for instance, when I shoot and I take photos in the streets, I usually do it on manual mode with manual focus. The camera is all ready to take the photo, no messing around with the settings, it's just a perfect, simple technique because I'm trying to catch the moment, not trying to fiddle with the buttons and the menus and the settings. So, and that's what I convey to the students. First of all, think in the story, think of the character that you have in front of you, and try to communicate with them, try to show the story, try to pass a message. Don't mess with the technical part. Of course, you have to know some part of the technical, because if you want to construct or build an image with a special effect or something like that, or long exposure or something like that, of course you have to know the technique. But keep it as simple as possible and focus on the story, focus on the message. It's the most important thing, and the emotional part of building an image. That's the most important for the creative process.
Yeah, I feel similarly that the technical side of filmmaking or photography will come along, and it's something that anyone can learn nowadays. And so that isn't necessarily the thing that you need to be focused on, because if that's all you're focused on, you'll miss out on probably the more important parts of this, which is trying to evoke emotion or tell a story. And I feel that if you're working on a documentary project, for example, based off of your subject or your theme or what you're trying to evoke, the technical stuff will come, because you're going to want to be able to figure out how to film in a certain way, because it's going to have a connection or a relationship to the story you're trying to tell. So as long as you're kind of like grounded in the heart of your project or the themes you're trying to tackle or the feelings you're trying to evoke, then the technical stuff will come, because you'll want to learn that to achieve some look that you want or some effect that you want, but hopefully it's informed by the actual heart of the story. Yeah.
Thank you. In your opinion, for both of you, what are the biggest changes that we can expect coming from these new younger generations of visual media creators? What's the future of this part, basically?
I think for now we don't have a clear picture what the future will bring, because we are facing a real deep change in all these workflows that we have creating content. And as a matter of fact, during this month we are having a small set of talks and workshops in my research unit related with artificial intelligence, and how artificial intelligence will change forever this creative landscape. And one thing that we already know is that we don't know the future. We don't know what will be the changes, because artificial intelligence is entering in this workflow and is affecting the way we create images, the way we create reality, the way we fake reality. So it's a bit difficult to have an answer for that now. I have more questions than answers. And for one thing, I'm very excited about this technology and possibilities that it creates, but I'm also very worried because some things that, for instance, we teach to our students, I don't know if they make sense anymore. So we have to wait, think, see where it goes, gather more data, and try to figure out what will be the next challenge for these creators. And being all digital, being all in the social network, we don't have any physical artifacts, we don't have anything. It's difficult, it's different, and even now with artificial intelligence we are losing that human aspect, so it's difficult. I don't have a real answer for that question. I have more questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that comes to mind is that young people are making so much content now, and I don't use TikTok, but I know so many young people do, and they're editing videos now at like really young ages, where that was something I never tried till I sat down and took a class, and then we had to edit something. So that's going to be really interesting. These young people are going to be trained like at such a young age in things like post-production and filming and framing. They're already going to have all this knowledge just because they're using their phones all the time. And the other thing I think about is, I'm curious if I think we are seeing a little bit of a shift or an interest again in sort of like analog photography and film, because we've gone to such the extreme of all digital, all technical, all about the gear, and I feel that there's always sort of like a pendulum, and so it seems like there's a renewed interest in maybe using analog tools again. I think a lot of people are interested in shooting on film. So I'm also really curious what will change. I mean, I am also unsure. But young people are going to be very competent, I think, from young ages, working in media. They're gonna know a lot from a young age.
Okay, so given that future, how do you guys who are keeping yourselves motivated and focused to do something, given that everyone's doing something as well?
Well, this area of photography, video is a journey. Okay, it never ends. So we are always learning, and for me, I learn a lot from my students because they have a fresh look, they have a fresh eye to the world. So it's very refreshing to supervise their work, to see how they see the world, how they tackle the issues, the problems. So it's very important to keep up to date with the technologies, with all those things evolving. And for instance, as Sarah was mentioning, as we have more and more tools that make lots of our work easier, okay, the editing, post-editing, the post-production, everything, it's even more important to keep people focused on the most important thing, that's the story, because sometimes people think that we don't need a story, we just need good images with lots of quality, lots of sharpness, lots of colors, so good editing, lots of After Effects, and we have a product. No, we don't have story, we don't have characters, we don't have anything. So we have to keep a balance between what is analog, human, okay, emotional, and the other part, technical, digital. And that's the main thing that keeps me going and still learning.
Thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'm new as a director, and so I'm still very motivated, but it is something I think that crosses my mind, is that there is so much content out there, and it's true, it's amazing. Like, anyone can make a film now. They can use their smartphone, or they can buy decent equipment now, which is really exciting. But it can feel overwhelming, like oh, everything's already been done before, every story's already been told, and I find myself worrying about what can I bring that's new, and can I try some new technique or a new angle, but then I also realize that that a good story is a good story. So I mean, it's true with films and books that have like touched people for hundreds of years. It's not necessarily because they did something so innovative, but it's oftentimes because they told a really good story. So I think that's something I also think about is, thinking like staying grounded in finding like a good story or a good subject or a good character, and that is worthwhile. Like maybe it's not the most impactful thing I'll ever make, or maybe it's not going to push boundaries, but I still find it worthwhile to think about strong characters and strong stories that can still be still speak to people. It seems like.
Okay, thank you. So what role do you believe that social media takes or should take as almost a shaping tool for society or the public perception?
That's a tough one.
I try.
We tried. You succeed, yes. Well, it depends. Nowadays, our lives go around social media constantly, so it is almost impossible to get away from that reality. But I think they have a strong problem due to the nature of the algorithms that the engineers do. So we are almost in a bubble, okay? Because we are not challenged by different views, different perspectives, because the algorithm continues to feed us with the things we like, okay? So we are getting more and more content that we like, that is based on our preferences, on our likes, on our shares. And that is difficult, and it's very difficult for a young creator that is different, that goes against trends or against some best practices around the social networks, to impose himself and to be there in the media space. So I think it could be dangerous. Okay, it's a wonderful mechanism to let us contact and share our media and share our content and expose our work. Okay, it's good for that, but nevertheless, it's a very restricted view of the world. So we should be aware of the diversity and look around and see other things that the algorithm doesn't let us to see. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel similarly, and I think the first thing I think of is, well, we are all sort of aware that social media plays such a big part in so many people's lives now, and I think we all just know in some instinctual way that it's too much, maybe, and so I feel like the answer is also to just spend less time on it, like But I fall into the trap of spending too much time on it. But I liked what you're saying about like students or people are trying to go against the grain or trying to be creative. Well, maybe the solution is to just spend less time on it. Yeah. Like remember the real world is where any of this like real, I think, relationship building, creativity, like it's gonna happen off your phone. It's gonna happen off social media. So yeah, it's like a good reminder to myself too. Generally spend less time on it, and we'll probably all be better off for it. Yeah.
And for example, to me, documentaries raise a lot of empathy. When I watch something, I'll be empathic to what I'm watching. So do you think documentaries can help to reshape, to kind of avoid the effect of social media? Can documentaries try and do something better for society?
It depends on the message that you are trying to convey, okay? Because they are very powerful. They could be very powerful instruments in raising the awareness of social problems, social issues that we have, and we all know different documentaries that had an impact during our lives. But sometimes it depends on the point of view, because, like I was saying before, you tend to watch documentaries that are more according to your points of view. So you are selecting, you are filtering, Yes, so documentaries could be a wonderful, wonderful moment for raising awareness, but they could also be somehow propaganda or something like that. So it depends on the message, it depends on what you filter or how you select them. But I believe, of course, in documentaries and their importance in shaping our society, shaping our vision of the world, but we have to select, we have to be very criterious in terms of what documentaries, what media do we see.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think in the past I thought that oh wow, like documentary films can be so impactful, and because I've been impacted by them, absolutely. And I mean, I still think they can have an effect on people for sure. But I also have been thinking more about, wow, there's so many of them, and there are so many documentaries about, different social topics and social justice themes, and that's not a bad thing. But I also wonder if we think that just by making a film about a topic and just by like creating empathy that we will actually have any sort of like real change or material change. So I think it's something to kind of like be aware of, that yes, it's of course it's good to gain new perspectives, be empathetic towards others, and film can help do that. But I think it's also good to remember that like just feeling like empathy towards someone doesn't necessarily change anything. Not that it's meaningless, but to be aware of what does a real impact look like if you are you care about a certain issue or something. Like I fall into this too, but yeah, just being empathetic doesn't necessarily change anything. So it's kind of something I've been thinking about it in relationship to documentary too, because I think that's a lot of documentarians' goals is to create some more empathy. Not a bad goal, but it's definitely not like the answer to any sort of problem,
Okay, thank you. Lastly, do you guys have any advice for younger, people that may be watching us on how they can get started in filmmaking, whether through photography or through filmmaking? What's a good documentary start point?
Okay, I will start by talking more about photography and documentary, of course, but try to figure out what is your concept, what is your language, what is your view about the world, about the things that are around you. You don't need to travel far away, you don't need to go to the other part of the world, the other side. You have plenty of rich stories right around you. So select your stories, have a cause, have a point of view about them, and try to express that. And be creative in the way that you convey your story, your message. Have a point of view about that. So don't be too worried about equipment, don't be too worried about techniques, okay? Because in the end, if you have strong emotion in your stories, we'll forget about the technical issues, we'll forget about many things, because we'll be involved in the story. That's, I think, is the big secret to all of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I'll just add another piece of advice, which I think is that I think if you're interested in film or photography, you need to find a creative community. Like you can do it on your own, but you need others. Like I think that's really important. You need people who inspire you, or who are gonna watch your films and give you feedback, and you're gonna give them feedback, and you're gonna watch films together, and you're gonna go out and take photos together. Like I think you'll be a stronger artist if you try and find people that are excited and passionate. Like that can get you really far too. So look for people who are excited about this stuff and work together on something, And then the other thing is just go out and experiment, and don't be too precious with something, because you're gonna make so many mistakes. You're gonna make things that you are not happy with, and they don't look good, but that's the only way you learn, right? And so don't be afraid to just make something, and through that you're gonna grow so much by making things. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's our time. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here, both of you. Thank you for participating and answering my questions. I think I was not too mean. They were not too difficult.
No.
I would also like to thank the support of the US Embassy in Lisbon. And thank you all for today. That's a wrap. So thank you.
Thank you.